The world's most dangerous road gets its name from the fact that over the, 7,500 years or so that it was in existence, there have been literally hundreds, thousands of deaths.
It's incredibly insane terrain, most of it just dirt road with incredible drop-down cliffs with absolutely no guardrails whatsoever. And it's super narrow, and despite what all the travel guides tell you, it is an active road, so there is actually quite a bit of traffic on that road.
So when we got to La Paz, it was pretty much a requirement that we were going to do it. I found a brochure and a website online for gravity-assisted mountain biking, which turned out to be a great company. On the drive up the mountain, our guide was telling us about how the last 2 weeks have been nothing but pouring rain, which was interesting because let me read what it says on their website. Please note, the dates of December 10th until March 1st are rainy season in Bolivia, and we do not encourage people to do the world's most dangerous road, the Death Road, ride during this time. To put it simply, we believe the risks are slightly higher and that the experience is not as enjoyable due to the very high probability of thick cloud, torrential rain during most of the day, freezing snow at the top, tons of mud, etc. And this next part's in bold. However, if you absolutely must do it for those exact reasons, Gravity has set up a super duper reinforced masochists only package for the rainy season to minimize risk and improve comfort and safety.
When we started the trip, it was still really nice and sunny, so we got fitted for our gear and got on our bikes, and right away I was feeling the altitude at 4,700 meters.
The first part, maybe half an hour or so, is paved. It's part of the new road. It gives you a great opportunity to test out your bike and make sure the brakes work for the downhill sections.
And I started to be a little bit iffy, even though the road was fully paved, but we had to ride down on the shoulder and sharing the road with other traffic like big buses and semis and cars and everything else.
But we got to see some just beautiful lookouts with the clouds racing by and these really majestic, jagged peaks surrounding the whole valleys. It was really awesome. When we hit the first checkpoint, we gave an offering to Pachamama, which is Mother Earth.
They pass around a bottle of alcohol, like pure alcohol, and they give an offering to the Mother Earth.
And the way we did that was by pouring a little on our tires, a little on the earth, and touching a little bit of it to our lips.
And that's supposed to keep everybody safe. Once we got off the pavement and on the actual dirt road, I realized that the drop-offs were between 150 to 400 meters. It's like a wall dropping off. You look over and you see this never-ending drop.
The drivers need to drive on the left-hand side so that they can look out their window and see where their tire is in relation to the cliff edge. The day we chose couldn't have been better. It was sunny at the top. It was sunny and very warm at the bottom. In the middle, on the most dangerous road part, was where it rained on us a bit. There's a couple times where we had to ford a river, which you could get off your bike and walk through. Most people tried to ride through it though, and your feet get just as wet because when the pedals go down far enough, they get submerged. There's a great scene where Oksana rode right through a waterfall and I zipped right around it.
You're not just like walking down that dirt road, you're hauling ass down that road, or at least most people are, because I was definitely at the end of the group, very last person going down, and I was constantly riding my brakes. Probably the first time I saw the cliff without the guardrail, that's when my brain panicked, and it totally panicked. From there on, my brain was screaming and yelling at me that there is no way you're doing this. And my body's response to that was that every time I went to get onto the bike, I couldn't do it. Like, I seriously could not get onto the bike. Every time we stopped, it was a huge ordeal for me because I had to spend like extra minute or two just getting onto the bike and starting to ride down.
I have to say that I didn't really enjoy myself on this trip. And that was because I didn't realize how big a disparity there was between Oksana's and my riding skills. She went very slow and would not listen to any of my recommendations to stand up on the pedals, to distribute her weight and her balance a little better. She wouldn't go a little bit faster. A lot of times she was going so slow that the bike would start to wobble.
I was the slowest person in the group, and probably out of all the 8 riders that we had in the group, I was the least experienced one on the bike.
Over the rainy season, however, we discourage anyone who is nervous, scared, unfit, or a beginner.
And it definitely put some pressure on Arlo because he probably felt obligated to stick with me, even though he is way more confident on the mountain bike than I am.
The rest of the group was much quicker than we were, and they would get up to the next checkpoint where the guide would tell them what's going on next. They'd take their pictures, they'd have their rest, they'd get a little bit chilly because it was raining, and then we'd arrive. And the group cannot spend too much time hanging around for the really slow people. They'll freeze, and they'll get hypothermia while they're waiting. So slow riders will be put on the bus for some sections to save the rest of the group.
In the beginning, I was definitely considering quitting and just getting back into the bus and staying in the bus for the rest of the ride. But between me just really wanting to do it and our guide John being very encouraging, I decided to stick with it, even though my decision had a slightly negative effect on Arlo's experience of the tour. I still think that personally for me it was an incredible thing that I managed to get through the whole thing.
There were times I let her get ahead, which was really good because then I could take a few pictures and then race to catch up, and so I had my fun there too. When you reflect on the fact that they're calling this the world's most dangerous road and the death road, and then you see all these mountain biking companies putting hundreds of people on the road every day, you think, how can the Bolivian government be so irresponsible? But after doing this, you realize that it's all marketing, that granted, it is dangerous, but not that dangerous. I had no problems on the road. Granted, I'm very comfortable on a bike, but even when I was going very close to the edge on some of the muddy parts where there was a landslide, for instance, I mean, my heart rate never increased. The stories I heard about this road really, I think, were overhyped for being. Now, that said, for Oksana, was a very different story.
So yeah, it was quite a challenge for my nerves.
We didn't even realize that this was included in the trip, really. But at the very bottom, once we got to the village, we were taken to a place called La Senda Verde, where they take in rescue animals.
And they take on not only monkeys, but other animals as well, and provide them a good home to live at.
You can take showers, there's a swimming pool, it's set up as a volunteer place for tourists. We were ushered into a screened-off restaurant for lunch first, but even while we were in the restaurant, we could see the animal activity around us. There were blue and yellow and scarlet macaws. They had a caiman that they rescued, turtles, tortoises, parrots of all kinds, toucans. But the highlight, for sure, was going and sitting by the pool and playing with the monkeys.
For me, that was the first place where I got to interact and see monkeys outside the cage and not on the leash. They weren't restrained in any shape or form. They were just roaming around, interacting with the guides or naturalists, and interacting with the tourists as well, even though they're not quite allowed to do that.
Even though we weren't initiating any contact, the monkeys would come right up to you and start playing with you. Very curious. They'd try to get in your pockets. One tried to figure out what his reflection was in my camera lens, which is really comical. You'd be sitting there facing one direction and suddenly a monkey would jump on your back. It was a magical couple hours. We had so much fun.
Probably my favorite moment was when I'm sitting and just kind of looking around and looking around, and I turn around and I see Arlo sitting on the side of the pool, and there is a spider monkey curled up on his lap.
He walked right up, sat in my lap, and went to sleep within seconds. And for the next 5 minutes, I kept looking for the owner because I knew I wasn't supposed to be holding the monkey, but he didn't want to go anywhere. It turns out that these are rescue animals, and each one has their own idiosyncratic behavior, and this one must have had a male owner that was nice to it, perhaps a female owner that wasn't so nice, because everyone knew that this one liked men, and he came right up to me and just cuddled and wanted to stay there, and I let him. It was definitely the highlight of the day for me.